Coming up on today's wrestling news, it's The Rock versus Cody Rhodes on a potential Rhodes heel turn.
Conflicting stories on CM Punk working Saudi Arabia.
Karrion Kross has sparked a major change within WWE.
And Jim Ross reveals he has colon cancer.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. So, Cody Rhodes, big news breaking about him over the last 24 hours. All reports seeming to suggest that Cody is going to be back, and they have big plans for him for the rest of the year. Very excited to see him back. I believe it was around Money in the Bank time people were suggesting. Yeah. But obviously, yes, he is not going to be struggling for storylines upon his return. But what Cody Rhodes are we going to see throughout the rest of 2025? Well, it's going to be a very interesting battle yet again within WWE, between WWE, sort of including the likes of Triple H and The Rock, and Cody, we can assume, against The Rock, of course, because we know all the reports about a potential Cody Rhodes heel turn being pitched. The whole selling your soul sort of thing was kind of the reason they eventually pivoted to John Cena turning heel, because Cody and a lot of people in WWE went, don't do that. That's a really bad idea to turn Cody Rhodes heel for all the merchandise stuff and the babyface reactions. Like, I think a heel turn's going to be amazing in Cody Rhodes' future, but not quite yet. It wouldn't quite have, I think within a year of being WWE champion, it wouldn't quite have made sense for him to do this to get a few more, I don't know, Instagram likes or whatever Rock was selling him. Anyway, that was obviously talked about a lot at the time, and The Rock mentioned on Pat McAfee's show when the dust was settling following WrestleMania, that they could revisit Cody.
Still wants it.
Yeah, they could revisit Cody selling his soul. There's no plan as of yet, of course, to turn Cody Rhodes heel. And those that Fightful asked within WWE didn't want to put too much of a spotlight on the situation after that interview by The Rock, but a lot of people were against the idea of turning Cody Rhodes heel. Yes, tickets, merch, all that good stuff. It's not going to happen yet, but the road to WrestleMania begins the moment WrestleMania ends, basically. Yeah. And I guarantee that The Rock will be pushing to revisit this, as he said.
Yeah, there was something within, was it WWE internally? It said they've got like Cody's plans for the year laid out, and obviously, as far as they're concerned, that's as a babyface. We talked about in the news yesterday about Travis Scott and John Cena possibly working together as part of a tag or six-man at Money in the Bank, and that could factor in Cody Rhodes, because there is certainly plenty of afters that can be found between Travis Scott and Cody Rhodes. Yeah, it's not going away. By it, I mean The Rock. Whether it's around like WrestleMania season or the fact that he has skin in the game, and look, like some people like enjoy his what did he call himself? Like the Great Disruptor or something like that. Some people quite like that particular slant he has on things. I'm not even talking about you, because I can see the glint in your eye, as a performer, because it's The Rock, right? Yeah. Some people quite enjoy the sort of the bombs he drops on WWE when he rocks up around WrestleMania season. It's been 2 in a row, but I think he's already okay to say that one went really well, one much less so.
Yes, I think it's fair to say, it's very much a lottery when The Rock decides to get involved in these sort of things. I thought WrestleMania XL, WrestleMania 40 was one of the great WrestleManias as a result of what happened.
Pulled from the fire, though.
The build, well, it was always planned. It was the greatest pivot in the entire wrestling history.
So if it was a plan, how is it a pivot?
Planned pivot, mate. Have you ever heard of it? No, look, that was awesome, obviously. This year, the heel turn for John Cena was incredible. One of the greatest moments in recent years of wrestling. Following on from that, not so good, Al. But that's kind of because John Cena's kind of washed more than anything, really. And there's a reason why they haven't turned him heel before, quite clearly. Nevertheless, in terms of Cody Rhodes, like, we've seen what a Cody heel run looks like in other promotions and what have you, and it's amazing. Yeah. And it's not like you haven't got people, CM Punk, for example, or Roman Reigns as a babyface, to have him go up against once that eventually happens. And that's just to mention 2 names of a million others. Cody could work with, and nothing against this guy, I love him, but like he could do a main event program with Otis and it'd be amazing. Yeah,
as a heel, but not right now.
No.
And it's weird that The Rock seems to have like, he's dug his heels in, hasn't he? It's an agenda now. It's almost like that. Like we keep talking about this as like a game of chess between The Rock and Triple H. Realistically, it's a game of chess where The Rock could just go and flip the piece. Like, he, like, very literally a member of the board. Let's keep that chess analogy alive. Yeah. Like, he's got more power, but for whatever reason, like that. Obviously, maybe it's like a public perception thing. Like he's got to seem to be working with, not against.
Yeah, and you
so
don't
with
want
enough pushback.
Yeah, you don't want the echoes of old WWE of like everyone else didn't like it, but the boss has kind of pushed it through like it used to be.
Yeah.
This feels far more collaborative, doesn't it?
To
an extent, sorry.
But with people being quite cagey.
I'd really like this to happen. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, like, we don't like it. Right, well, I'm going to come back to this in 6 months and I will get my way. But yeah, so it's going to run this, isn't it? Like, at a bare minimum, it's going to be every WrestleMania season, but you wonder, the less Rock gets his way, the more he might want to try and mix in. The more that Triple H feels like he's, like, won one, well, then Rock will be like, I don't want to give you that. Like, let's not forget.
And
like,
it depends how Smashing Machine does in cinemas.
Indeed, like, he's got, like, talking about your pivots, like, he's kind of looking at, he's got the Scorsese film plus this Smashing Machine film that's, like, potentially his route into...
Oh, should win an Oscar, yeah.
Credible cinema away from the action genre where he was...
Whoa. You said credible cinema there. I think we'll be fine. We've been producing that in WWE for the last few years, mate.
We're not doing that.
I say we. I don't know why I said we there. I'm a paid shill, obviously.
You know, Wilborn came at the office this morning with just 7 pence in his pocket, and now he's a massive collaborative film producer. That's how this business can work, yeah? Eat your pancakes. Cheat day. You do you, whatever the frig he says on Instagram.
The Rock's the best. There you go, there's a counter argument.
I'm not so keen. Balance! Speaking of some balance, we've got some aggregating CM Punk in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's my reporting.
Continues to thicken. Right, so let's go back to the PLE Backlash at the weekend where we saw the Night of Champions advert that featured the clip of CM Punk winking from his first promo back in WWE, and it was the first time that Punk had been featured in any of the marketing for any of these Saudi Arabia PLEs. Well, naturally that stirred up loads of conversation that at long last CM Punk was going to feature on one of these shows. There's a bit of a sticky past there. I mean, not least to do with WWE's deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Vision 2030 and all of that kind of stuff. But CM Punk back when he was working not for WWE, for Fox, when he was doing Backstage back in 2019, 2020, and The Miz went on there and kind of had a bit of dig in the ribs and, did I not change the culture? CM Punk put that tweet out about what The Miz should do with his Saudi Arabian blood money, and I'm not going to repeat that, but you know the tweet I'm talking about, which then immediately when he re-signed with WWE had a bunch of people like kind of saying, well, when are you doing that then, pal? Because if you want to win the belt, if you want to be the top guy in the company, that comes with the territory. Well, it felt like it was going to be Night of Champions, but there may be a twist in the tail. Riyadh Season's official social media account put out the same Night of Champions trailer, but CM Punk was lifted out and Seth Rollins was dropped in the exact spot. No Punk on the Riyadh Season Night of Champions advert. However, Mike Johnson of PW Insider, very reliable, shout out to Mike Johnson, answered a question on one of his sort of like Q&As on PW Insider. And he said, quote, well, card is always subject to change, but I would certainly believe he's going to work that pay-per-view. So there must be conversations. I mean, he wouldn't have been in the original trailer, right? Without the sort of the discussions and...
Yeah, someone would have said, sure about Punk at the end there?
Yeah, these shows I would say for about 2 years now, have been canonised. We are away from the era of garden furniture in the crowd and, we need the Undertaker.
Yeah, wacky sort of side quests.
For a couple of years, to be truthful, it's been part of WWE actually legitimising this, I'm going to call it what it is, you don't have to agree, this like sports watching endeavour is to make this feel normalised. It's to make these, like they've had TV tapings there and stuff like that now. The more they felt like weird alien space events, the less that deal was working. So they've had to like fold it into the narrative. So now it features into the booking. So CM Punk being part of that marketing would lead one to speculate that, well, they must have planned matches they might have involved in. Now, that might not be the case. I guess we'll be peering every single advert that gets posted. We'll be looking at the posters, see if his face appears. These
WWE comments on like an Instagram live, people talk about it. He hasn't got a problem with Saudi Arabia.
Sorry, I should point out, somebody on his Instagram, he does those things where he's training and he'll just be answering random questions that pop up and trolling various people. Yeah. Somebody said, why do you hate Saudi Arabia? Punk said, I don't hate Saudi Arabia. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. That's ambiguous, to say the least, but we'll be looking now. WWE have kind of taken a leaf out of AEW's book with those, the posters they do where it's just like loads of the roster. Yeah. That is as much an advertisement as anything of the talent you can expect.
Yes.
So we'll be looking to see a Night of Champions one to see if he pops up. But Mike Johnson says yes. The advert says maybe not. CM Punk doesn't hate Saudi Arabia.
It was all quite convenient in the last year or so with Punk's injury and sort of his storylines coming to a sort of natural conclusion that wouldn't mean that it wasn't really any need for him to be on the previous Saudi shows, but if it's going to happen, it's going to be in the next 12 months, isn't it? Because like you say, we've got Night of Champions, we've got a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia
one to miss that,
next year, and one would presume another big Saudi pay-per-view in 2026 as well, if not another one this year, actually, because they only did one last year, off the top of my head.
Was the Cody Rhodes Gunther?
Possibly.
It might have been one at the early part of the year. I
Maybe,
can't remember,
but yeah, my brain's soup.
But they're mixing it up as well. That's it. We should point out Crown Jewel's going to be in Perth this year. They are like Night of Champions, the Royal Rumble. There's been rumours of WrestleMania. Gone are the days again where these are like isolated shows on an island. Now it's simply they're part of the PLE branding. I guess,
yeah, exactly. And we're not. Don't have knowledge, despite how much of a journalist I am, of these conversations. But yeah, I sense it's probably a thing that wasn't discussed straight away when they were just trying to get him signed, mainly because it happened in like 24 hours or something insane.
Yeah.
But it has to be a topic they broach because most people have done the shows, even people who previously have raised complaints about it.
John Cena will most likely work having previously taken himself off them. It was around 2018 and the murder of Jamal Khashoggi and a bunch of people around that particularly contentious one in October 2018 that elected not to. Daniel Bryan worked the first one and then didn't work anymore after that. Sami Zayn at the time, due to his obviously Syrian heritage, didn't, but then has since kind of returned as a bit of a folk hero, as relations have eased on those sides. Kevin Owens as a sort of show of support to Sami Zayn, but then has gone on to main event one with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns, I think, and on it has gone. But yeah.
Was it part of the complete speculation on my behalf? Is it part of the negotiations going forward? Well, Punk, you want to main event WrestleMania, you want to win a world title, well, if you're going to get that, we're going to need something back, and we'd quite like to put you on a Saudi show. And it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be one of those things where, if it happens, understandably, with what has previously been said by people, and it's wrestling. Wrestlers say things and then go back on them quite regularly. People will make a big noise about it, and then I would not be surprised if this happens. If by the time we get to the Rumble, it's barely a story anymore.
That's kind of how sports washing works,
exactly,
isn't it? That's the more we kind of all of this gets normalised, the less of the original issues dating back to 2017, 2018 get discussed. This deal is going to go on until 2030 at minimum. That feels optimistic at this point. This feels like it's forever.
And with the Pando things, maybe they have a few more shows to catch up on. I'm not sure if they have or not, but yeah, it'll be very interesting to keep an eye on this one.
I actually, I know you're the journalist, but I actually did get a bit of a scoop. You knew about Punk signing, but you couldn't tell me that. I knew of some of the discussions that went on in the conversations after he signed, and I'm prepared to reveal for the first time that he said 2-acre trophy or nothing. So, like, he did.
Give me that piss trophy.
That's it. It wasn't a WrestleMania main event. Like, that's nothing.
Let's run WrestleMania 29.
The WrestleMania main event is a dot to you. Yeah, I want the taker. I want the dead man. I want the piss trophy. Give it to me. I need it.
From one absolute legend to another, though, let's talk about Karrion Kross, a particular favourite of WhatCulture and the WhatCulture Wrestling Podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from. Go back and listen to episodes from the last, 6 months? We've been heaping praise on that man.
We cover WWE, NXT, and of course, All Elite Wrestling.
Not for everyone. But Karrion Kross has sparked big change within WWE. There's this wave of support, understandably, behind him. I read somewhere recently he was like one of the top merch sellers within WWE, alongside the likes of Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, and having your name mentioned with those two is no bad thing, of course. But he told a story on social media yesterday, basically about meeting some fans at a show and then being like, where can we get your shirt? His shirt had sold out, of course, recently. And he's like, oh yeah, you can go and get it on WWE Shop, usual sort of thing. And they were like, yeah, cool, but we're at the arena, we'd quite like to buy it. And we've all been through that experience of like, whether it's a wrestling show or a gig or whatever, and you're like, I want to buy a t-shirt now that sort of has all the memories that I've just experienced to go along with it. Well, Karrion Kross has revealed that after that, he brought it up internally within the company, tried to make it happen, and they responded quite quickly because he's kind of a big deal now. And he says, starting this Monday night at Raw, my shirts will be available in the arena. That feels awesome. I want to say thank you to everybody. He says that the fans are the ones that basically made this happen. They see you, they hear you, and sometimes you don't feel like you're being heard, you don't feel like you're being seen, and it goes a long way to do stuff like that. So I'm just checking in with you guys to let you know, thank you very much. Last time this happened was in NXT, where another time he had a big wave of momentum behind him. This could be a huge year for Karrion Kross, and I really hope so.
This is lush.
His character work this year has been immaculate, and that promo on the Raw recap with friend of the channel, Sam Roberts. I'm not sure if my interview with him has gone out yet, but he was a lovely man at Wale Mania and chatting to us, and it's well worth checking that out. Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a big year for Kross.
It's weird. The Karrion Kross push on television. I've got an article coming to WhatCulture.com sometime about wrestlers that are benched, and Karrion Kross is working main event, but as a Raw and SmackDown wrestler he feels benched, which is so strange because he's doing everything that they ask of their wrestlers, which is to maximise your minutes
and chatting to people in the background of interviews.
Well, indeed, every time he's on Raw, background or foreground, he kind of steals it,
yep.
right? And then there's a big talking point. This dates back to the back end of the Final Testament. I think the real turning point, like for us, we were kind of ahead of the curve without Karrion, was the week when he was just like mega hyper banter at ringside every week. But there was a big week for him. Do you remember the viral one with him and Scarlett in the hotel about the Miz? Yeah, he's definitely dead. Like that was
so funny.
That seemed to be like a real breakthrough for him. And people, like people,
Karrion Kross is patter.
Totally. And then from there now, it's almost like there's one a week. And then the patter became this groundswell of support for him that got him on. Seems like chump change, but the little spot he got with AJ Styles at WrestleMania, having wrestled him on the Raw beforehand.
Huge bab.
His promo at Bloodsport was one of the promos of the weekend. Yeah. Like that.
Tuck your chin.
Tuck your effing chins. And he was obviously he's a Vegas guy, and that was the biggest physical thing he was going to do with his weekend. Then we got that incredible promo he cut in the aftermath of WrestleMania that went viral on its own terms. Oddly, again, sort of related to The Miz, because it sort of resembled that Talking Smack one, didn't it?
Yeah.
He was kind of clenching his fists and saying his piece. But you're not seeing that replicated in major storyline involvement on television. So it is this, when you mention, I think we were talking about over the desk, when you mentioned kind of like the Zack Ryder thing, the merchandise getting sold was the closest to sort of validation before he won that United States title.
But now, of course, WWE's the listening company, as we all call it, so...
Well, and if there was one person that was listening to those shares to Zack Ryder at the time, it was Triple H, who definitely didn't pedigree him every single TV taping. So surely
he is a bit of a Triple H guy, though, isn't he?
He's a massive...
For him when he was in NXT.
Yeah, long before anybody else liked him, the game was across that. But this T-shirt thing, it's validation for the Karrion Kross character because he's got this because it's moved up the charts on WWEshop.com. They're not doing this for anybody other. They're responding to demand. He's going to make some money off it. So he's going to be seeing the resids off these T-shirt sales.
Lots of noughts for the Crossers.
Oh,
sweet that. You better like it. Call me butter, baby. I'm on a roll.
That's strong stuff. They should put that on a T-shirt for you and sell that at buildings.
Karrion, I'll take a slight cut of the residuals. It's absolutely fine.
And what happens when people buy T-shirts at live shows? They wear them, so you're going to see that on camera. So that's it's like a snowball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rolling down a hill, and then it becomes this point of you don't get it as much in WWE anymore. But I am starting to sense it with John Cena. We are returning a little bit to fan protest noises. A little bit.
Yeah.
It's the first time in I would say probably nearly 3 years where I'm starting to register a tiny bit of pushback in the stands about the booking and Karrion Kross T-shirts.
Some bloody people in the stands, that's the problem.
It's not a problem, if anything. It's a nice problem to have. It's a selection area. But the more people wearing those shirts and the less he's getting used, the more that will stand out.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, look at what happened to Jey Uso. He's someone who we all kind of thought, right, okay, he's got a bit of a ceiling here. Incredibly popular, obviously, but he's not going to win the Royal. Oh, he's won the Royal Rumble, and he's won the world title at WrestleMania. So, like I say, look, WWE far more open to fan support things, which is a weird sentence to say. No other business do they go, what do the fans want? Never mind all that. It's now a lot more. A lot more sort of reciprocal. So, I don't know, maybe it might be a little bit too soon. Outside bet for Money in the Bank, perhaps.
Ooh, possibly. I mean, and again, there's a lot to be said for having this happen now. You are the furthest away from WrestleMania. Bad thing, you've got the longest possible run-up to be involved in the mix this time next year.
Yeah,
great thing.
Even if it's just winning a mid-card title, at least he's doing something, because there's something about Kross. Really like that guy.
Go and buy a shirt. If you like Karrion Kross, go and buy a shirt, put some money in their bank.
Yeah,
it's nice. It's nice. Right, some sad news to end this week's Friday news on. Jim Ross posted last night on X that, quote, he was diagnosed with colon cancer, surgery being scheduled in the next week or two. I appreciate your concern and support. And indeed, there was loads of concern and support for Jim Ross. He survived skin cancer a couple of years back. He's been he's documented very publicly, the likes of his fights with Bell's palsy and issues with one of his eyes of late. He's survived and battled through a litany of health scares over the last couple of decades, really. And this is the latest one, but he seems to be going into it headstrong at very least. And really, this was just an opportunity for all of us at WhatCulture to send our best to Jim Ross. I'm sure you will agree with that. Like, let him know in the comments below, and indeed on Twitter at JRsBBQ, where you can send your best to Jim Ross. Shout out to the big man. Get well soon, JR. Hope this goes as well as it possibly can do, and all the very best from all of us on your recovery.
Yeah, he's really been through it, obviously, in the last few years, as you pointed out there, and. This isn't a new thing for him in terms of dealing with this, but it's never not just absolutely devastating when you or someone you know breaks this sort of news. And I don't think there's anyone in wrestling that wouldn't put him on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling commentators. Mm-hmm. So all the love out to Jim.
Broader shoulders, that one as well.
Yeah, and as anyone will know, and I'm sure lots of people watching this who will have been affected by it, when it is someone close to you. No matter how much they're like, don't worry, the doctors are dealing with it and they've got surgery and blah, blah, blah. It's still a really scary and upsetting time. So, all of our thoughts go out to JR and his friends and family, who must be very concerned for him. But fingers crossed all goes well. All the love from the wrestling community to Jim.
There's a nice post from All Elite Wrestling, which you can go and check with their official socials as well, where they all send support. It's one of them moments, isn't it, where it reminds you that like wrestling's a ginormous community at the end of the day. You see the outreach and his replies. There's nobody in the industry that doesn't want Jim Ross to get better.
Exactly. Yeah. Right, let us know your thoughts on all the news stories we've discussed in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Me and him are going to be previewing SmackDown a little bit later on today, and we've got WrestleCulture with a hashtag bloody good quiz coming your way. In the meantime, why not watch this video? I have no idea what it is, but I'm sure it's great.